Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. We're going to continue on from where we left off last time because I have a lot of things to show you. Learning music is not just learning how to play an instrument, critical as that is, but you need to know more than that to really understand music. So if we can take a look at this chart here, this is a full-scale keyboard. Small, but nonetheless full scale. It's got all of the notes on it, and this here would be the middle C right here. And when you're talking about what I usually show you for a keyboard, I usually show you from here to here to here. I show you a 2-octave range, which would be right here on this keyboard. So let me take this off and we'll show you that 2-octave range, and here it is right here. Now what I've done in this chart, and I'm not going to pay too much attention to it, but here's your C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's the low C or the middle C, which is right here, and this is the fingering for it. So what I've done is show the 2 octaves, the fingering for all of the notes for the 2 octaves, with the exception of sharps and flats. I did not put in sharps and flats. And here is the 2-octave range on a C recorder from the low C or the middle C right here, which, as we know, is toward the middle of the keyboard with a bunch of notes to the left and a bunch of notes to the right. Just remember, this is just a segment of it. So C, D, and it's here, E, which is here, F, which is here, G, which is here, A, B, C, mid-range C. And then this last octave, which goes up to high C, here is C, D, E, F, G, which is right here, A, which is right here with 1 ledger line, B, which is right here, and C, which is right here. This has got 2 ledger lines, and this is, which is considered to be high C. And some of the instruments, the simpler instruments, tonettes, song flutes, will only go in this range. That's a 1-octave range. Now you wouldn't think that was very much. Or if you get to the penny whistles and the recorders and the sassotos and the flutes, they go all the way up to here. Now it wouldn't seem like that much, but really you can play a lot of music with that because the octaves repeat themselves. You go C, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Or if you start at the A, which is right here, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then you go back to A. So the octaves just repeat themselves either at a higher level or at a lower level, depending upon where you are on the keyboard or where you are in the range that you play with your instrument. So it keeps repeating. There's no such thing as note H or I or J. And the reason is that we can't hear it. When we go from C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, or let's start at the A. I think that'll make more sense. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it goes back to A. Why does it go back to A, which is an octave from this A? It's because it's the way we hear. When we get up to that G, we don't hear anything that's higher. Animals can, but we can't. Some animals can. So what we do is we hear a higher pitch of that lower A. And so you do your octaves that way, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It repeats itself all the time. So I just wanted to show you that. And we want to get into more. Whoops. Here are the keys that you can get. In terms of the key signatures, flats and sharps. We have C, which is no flats and sharps. The key of G has 1 sharp. The key of D has 2 sharps. That's the way it's written in, and that's your key signature. The three sharps will be the key of A, and this is the way it's written in. 4 sharps, which the recorders, by the way, cannot play, would be these 4 sharps. 5 sharps would be written like this, 6 sharps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 sharps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And people do play music, pianos, maybe some guitarists do as well, and they can play all those keys. For the flatted keys, you have the key of F, which is 1 flat, B flat, which is 2 flats, E flat, excuse me, which is 3 flats, and then A flat, which is 4, recorders cannot play, D flat, which is 5, G flat, which is 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, I'm not going to get into it today, but when you get so many flats and so many sharps, you can change a flat key into a sharp key, or a sharp key into a flat key. You can actually switch them and get the exact same scale. I may go into that at some point, but I don't want to do that today. It does get a little complicated. We play, as recorder people, G, D, G and D and C, which has no sharps or flats, these 3. And for the flats, we can play the F 1 flat, the B flat 2 flats. Once in a while, I can squeak out 3 flats, depending upon how difficult the music is, because you've got to half hole a lot to get it. That's the range that you can do. You can't do any more for that, but that's quite a bit. You consider 1, 2, 3, actually 4 with the C, 5 and 6, and maybe somehow the 7th, maybe. Those are the number of keys that you can get on a recorder. That is quite a bit. And the fact is, since the octaves repeated themselves, you can go higher octave, you may drop it down to a lower octave. There's an awful lot that you can do. You just have to be aware of how to do it. And that makes sense if you stop to think of it. So how do these keys work? Well, if you take a look at, this is kind of a review because I did this before, but I think it bears repeating. Supposing you want to find out what key you are in. You have a key signature, it has 1 sharp in it, or it has 2 sharps in it, or it has a flat. How do you know where you are? If you are starting with a C, let's go right here. This is a C. If you count 5 notes, C, D, E, F, G, that's where that first sharp is going to be. The key is going to be G, because that's the stopping point. It's also the starting point of the next 5 notes, and then you put your first sharp in. Then you start on the same note that you stopped. G, A, B, C, D. You add another sharp. You keep the same sharp that you had to begin with, and you add another. So D is 2 sharps. Then D, E, F, G, A, that's going to be 3 sharps. So how do you figure that out? You start on C, and you go 5 steps up. That's 1 sharp. Then you start at that same note that you stopped on, G, A, B, C, D, add another sharp. Every 5 notes gets another sharp. D, E, F, G, A, another sharp. So C to G, G to D, D to A, that's 3 sharps. Now, we wouldn't be doing that much on a recorder. And it's all by half steps and full steps. So I'll repeat this with you again. C to D is 1 step. Why? There's a black note there. The white notes are for regular notes. The black notes usually you use for sharps and flats. So C to D, 1 step. D to E, 1 step. E to F is a half a step. Then F to G, a step. G to A, a step. A to B, a step. B to C is a half a step. So your sequence is C to D, 1 step, D to E, 1 step, and then your half a step. You have 2 steps, a half a step, then 3 steps and another half a step. Every major scale follows that pattern. Half steps and full steps. 2 steps, half step. 3 steps, half steps. Now what if I want to know about the key of G? Okay, G to A, 1 step. A to B, 1 step. B to C is your half step. C to D, 1 step. D to E, 1 step. E to F sharp is that 3rd step. You can't play that F, that's only a half step. The pattern says you need another full step, so you go to E to F sharp. That's why G is in the key of F, that F sharp is the key of G. Then from the F sharp to the G is a half step. That's the last half step. So it all works out. No matter what scale you're on, no matter what note you start on and you follow that pattern of 2 steps and a half a step, 3 steps and a half a step. And that's the pattern. 2 steps, half. 3 steps, half. And if you're in like this and you need a full step, you go to the sharp because that's the full step. This would be the half a step. So you can start on every note for every key, and you can find out like that what key you're in. If you see something and you don't know what it is, you don't know what key signature it is, you can figure it out. C, D, E, F, G, that's 1 sharp. G, A, B, C, D, that's 2 sharps. D, E, F, G, A, that's 3 sharps. Now, if I had a bigger, in fact, maybe I should do this. Supposing, I'm going to put this up again, and I hope it's going to hold, but I can't guarantee it. See if we can get that. Okay, so I want to do flats. C, B, A, G, F. F is 1 flat, and it is a B flat. F, E, D, C, B, B flat actually, that's going to be my 2nd flat. B, A, F, E, this is going to be the E flat right here. B, A, G, F, E flat right here, that's the 3rd flat. A will be the 4th flat. So the A flat will be the 4th flat. So a similar thing happens with the instruments, with the keys that are on the bass clef, but you're dealing with flats. Here, you're dealing with sharps. Here, you're dealing with flats. This is a treble clef. This is the bass clef. Now, I need to make it clear because I don't want you to have any misunderstanding here. You can play in this range and play any sharps and flats that you want to. You're not going to just play flats. And here you can play all of the flats that you want to. You're not going to just play sharps, you know. You can play anything on any part of the keyboard, flats, sharps, or whatever. But in terms of understanding the bass and the treble clef, and then understanding how you get flats and how you get sharps, this is a handy way to look at it. But it doesn't limit you in what you're playing at all. You just need to know that. So here we go. You still have that pattern. For the flats, you have that pattern. For the sharps, you have that pattern. And so it's just an easy way to understand it. Now, there is something called the circle of fifths. I'm not going to really use it, but I want to explain it to you. Here's your keyboard right here. We're going to skip this for now. Supposing you arrange everything in a circle, this is the key of C. It has no sharps and no flats. You get C, D, E, F, G. You go 5 steps, and you get another little staff with the 1 sharp. And you go 5 more, you get another little staff with the 2 sharps. You go 5 more, this is the A, 3 sharps. E is 4 sharps. B, by the time you get really down here, you get C, flat, and B. And here you can start an interchange where one type of scale can turn into the other, but we're not dealing with that now. You actually basically put it all on a circle. Here's your F. 5 more is your B flat. 5 more is your E flat. 5 more is your A flat. So you can arrange the whole thing in a circle, and it's called the circle of fifths. It's the same thing as what I'm doing when I show you C and you count 5 up, and then G and you count another 5 up to the D, and then you count another 5 up to the A. It's the same thing, except we're putting it on a circle, and it's called the circle of fifths. You don't really have to know it. It's nice to understand it a little bit, but it's nothing that we have to use. I have to watch my time, I guess. Now here's a scale. It's one scale, but I've put it on 2 pages, and we'll get that up in a second here. I should have warned them in advance. Once in a while I do a chart that's 2 pages. Good, this is perfect. Now, I just spaced it out, and my purpose for doing this, if you were studying with me, if I had you for lessons, here's your C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and I go up to the D. I don't go up any higher than that. Then I start with that same D and C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. And so what I'm doing is showing you the notes on the staff and the recorder fingerings for them. You notice there are 2 fingerings for the F, either side, going up or going down. And the reason for that is that some recorders are English and some are German. And the German recorders don't have quite as complicated a fingering as what we call the Baroque. So here's your C scale. When you get to the F and the German fingering, and on the Baroque fingering you add 1 more finger, you can see there's a change in the pitch. The Baroque fingering is considered to be a little bit more accurate, and some instruments you really need to use that other fingering. And so therefore you add that extra, you skip this, here's your F, B, A, G, F. Skip this, add this. That's the Baroque fingering for an F. If you're playing fast music, nobody might ever notice that there's a very slight difference in the pitch. But in order to make it accurate, you use this. And most instruments are Baroque. They look exactly the same, so how would you know whether you have a Baroque instrument or not? Well, the only way you would know for sure is in the back, where you have the back tone hole. I don't think you'll be able to see this, but I have shown it before. There's a little B on top of that tone hole. It's so little, it's kind of imprinted on the instrument, and you probably would never be able to see it, but it is there. It's either raised a little bit, it's usually the same color as the plastic around it. There's no big change, although some instruments for beginners may have it marked more. And that little B means you have a Baroque instrument and you use the Baroque fingerings. I notice when I play an F, I automatically use the Baroque fingerings because it's slightly different, slightly the same. And sometimes when I'm playing a B flat, here's your B, B flat. Sometimes I'll add, you might not notice it, but it gives it a little bit of a more flat sound. So, you can see there's a slight difference. It's a Baroque instrument. Most people actually do play Baroque instruments because they are slightly more accurate in the intonation. German instruments are fine. I have those too. And you would hardly notice it unless you have a very sensitive ear. But for the sake of getting perfect pitch, and everything being perfect in terms of the tonal quality, sometimes we have to use the Baroque fingerings, which aren't that more difficult than the regular fingerings. Now, when I first start teaching a person, recorder or saxophone or whatever, I teach them B, A, G, F, E, D. because those are the main notes of the scale, and it leaves out the top C, it leaves out the bottom C, but it actually is easier to hold, it's easier to balance, and it's easier to remember. So where is that B, A, G, F, E, D? It's right here. B, A, G, F, E, D. The low note is the C, which I'm not doing to begin with, and then the C note is above it. So these 6 notes, B, A, G, F, E, D, what's so interesting about them? They're easy to play. You don't have to worry about it. And that's where they are. So you don't have to worry about how they sound. It's easier to balance. It's easy to drop an instrument if you don't know how to play it and you don't know how to balance it. It's very easy to do it. Everybody's probably done it before. I've done it before when I was first beginning too. With this B, you are actually holding the thumb hole down, and you've got a finger on each side, which is good for balance. Then you've got your thumb that is balancing in the back, no special place to put it, and then you can balance it with your finger, with your little finger of your right hand, and then of course it's in your mouth. So if you need extra balance, it's there. Then it's straight down. And that's where they are. Those are the notes where they are. Now, what about the other side? Well, you'd have to play it D, E, F, G, A, B, just opposite, because we read all of our music from left to right. So you wouldn't be playing B, A, G, F, E, D here. You'd be playing just the opposite from left to right. D, E, F, G, A, B. And here, B, A, G, F, E, D. I found that that was the easiest when I was teaching students how to play. So that's a scale. I didn't go above the D. The D has an interesting fingering. It's this. Look, Ma, no hands. No thumb hole covered either. So with the D, it's this one note covered. You have the top note, you leave that out, you don't cover it. The thumb hole is uncovered. All of the other notes are uncovered. How do you balance the instrument? You put it in your mouth, you make sure everything is clear, including that thumb. The thumb is not covering the toe hole, but then you have your right hand on the other side balancing and your little finger. The lower note that I'm playing is a C by putting the thumb back on, back on the toe hole. Now, it takes some balance and some learning and some experience to be able to do that. The recorder is a very simple instrument, but it still has tricky parts about it. Every instrument does. I'm watching my time here. I may have to close it quite soon. Now, this is a chromatic scale. Remember, I've said the chromatic scales, you go in half steps. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and C. And when you're going down, it's flatted. Flats are 1/2 step down from whatever note. B to B flat is a 1/2 step down. B to B sharp would be a 1/2 step up. Sharps are 1/2 step up, and flats are 1/2 step down. So it would be C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E, E flat, D, D flat, and C. There you get your chromatic scale. It's a little harder to play. you have to think a little. What's the next note? It's a half step. It's not a full step down. That is your chromatic scale. That takes a little work. Okay, here is a picture, and I'm going to close with this. This is a sketch. Here's the keyboard, the 2-octave keyboard, and here's a fingering chart. It shows the fingering of every note that a recorder can play, both sharps and flats and natural notes, starting with the low C and C sharp, which is the same as D flat, D, D sharp, which is the same as E flat, E, and it goes up the total octaves at every single fingering of every single note that a recorder can play. It's probably a little too much for you to manage, but we do have a fingering chart. Most instruments have fingering charts that are written for them, showing you exactly what position that your hand should be in and what the fingerings are to play every single note. So we're kind of out of time, so I'm going to close it off here. We still have a little to do, and then I've got some other things to show you. So we'll just continue with this next time. I'm still trying to get for you to understand just how complicated music can be, but when you understand it, it just seems natural. It doesn't seem hard at all. So give yourself some time and patience if you are getting a little confused, and you can always email me if you want to here at the studio, and I'll answer your questions on the air. So we'll close it for now. Please join me next time.